In this video, we are going to demonstrate the border effect. The border effect was created in 2017. The effect is getting a video because a new marquee mode was added to the effect. I am going to demonstrate the border effect on three props: a matrix with an 84 by 42 pixel resolution, a megatree with a 32 by 50 resolution, and an arch with 76 pixels. This video is going to demonstrate all three modes of the border effect. Let's get started by adding the effect to the timeline. The effect starts out in simple mode. This mode displays a border around the display element. In this mode, we can make the width of the border thicker. There are several color options available. All of the color options use a color gradient. The default is a gradient going from red to green. The effect default is to apply this color gradient over the duration of the effect. The border starts out red and over time changes to green. If we select the across element option, the color gradient is sampled based on the horizontal position. The left side is red while the right side is green. If we select the vertical across element option, the top is red while the bottom is green. The last two color options apply the color gradient across the diagonals. So here we have bottom to top, and the last option is top to bottom. As with most Vixen effects, there is an intensity curve where you can control the brightness of the effect over time. Here we see the effect starting out dim and getting brighter. The next mode we're going to look at is the advanced mode. The advanced mode has the same color and intensity options as simple mode. In advanced mode, there is a border type selection. Single border type allows you to control the thickness of the border on all sides, or if the border type is set to independent, all sides can have different thicknesses or widths. Instead of the thickness being a slider, it is a curve that allows you to change the thickness over the effect's duration. Here I'm going to have the thickness increase until the entire display element is filled. This might be useful to combine with layering as a transition. In this example, I have added a mask layer and put the border effect in this layer. In the default layer, I have added the weave effect. This creates an interesting visual. Before we look at the independent border type, let's look at the other properties of the border. We can change the size of the border by adjusting the width and the height. We can animate the smaller border by adjusting the X offset and the Y offset. I have reset the border width and height to 100%. Now let's change the border type to independent. In this example, I'm going to increase the thickness of the left and right sides to get curtain behavior. Next, let's change the border mode to marquee. This mode is new for this year's Vixen release and the main reason for making this video. The first property we can adjust on the marquee is the thickness. The second setting we can change is the band length. The third setting we can adjust is the stagger. This gives the marquee more of a candy cane look. The next setting we can adjust is the skip length. This configures the size of the blank area between the bands. The speed of the marquee can be adjusted. The movement direction of the marquee can be reversed. The size and movement options are similar to advanced mode. With the addition of being able to wrap the X and Y axis. The color gradients collection determines the color of the bands. Let's add blue to the collection. We skipped over the render level setting. The default is level 0, where you get a border around the display element. If we change the render level to 1 or 2, the display element is transformed into a long string of pixels. To visualize what is happening, on the left we have a 4x4 matrix. If we set the render level to level 1 or level 2, we get a long string of pixels, where Vixen renders the effect on that string. There are two ways of transforming the matrix into a string. Setting the render level to level 1, we can see that the effect is now filling the entire matrix. For render level 1, Vixen iterates over the rows of the matrix, switching directions when it gets to the beginning or end of the row. For render level 2, Vixen is still iterating over the rows, but always starts at the left or beginning of the row. The render levels take the very simple marquee of color bands and produces interesting patterns when applied to the entire display element. This is especially true when the effect is applied to a megatree. Let's experiment and see what patterns we can create. So here I have moved the effect to my megatree. Next I'm going to select render level 1 and try to adjust the band length and skip length to get some interesting patterns. Next, let's switch to render level 2 and see what patterns we can generate. This effect can also be used on arches to produce chasing bands of color. Hopefully you found some of these patterns visually interesting and you include them in your show. Thank you for supporting Vixen.